Hey ho, let's go, folks. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're well wherever you are. Welcome to Pugsley's Pit. I am Sean Pugsley Martin. Welcoming you on this beautiful Albany, New York Monday. Sunny out, 70s. As always, we begin here on the pit asking you the question, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Welcome again to Pugsley's Pit. By way of introduction, I'm a freelance sports writer for the Albany Times-Union, sports enthusiast, big-time homer for my teams. I can also be found as co-host of M&M Across the Board on a weekly basis with my good friends Eric and Ashley. You can follow the show on Twitter at Pugsley's Pit and take in the podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. On today's show, very excited, we're being joined by BallNine.com creator Chris Vitali and BallNine Can of Corn contributor Kevin Czerwinski. And with that, coffee cup is full. I know you're jealous. It tastes good. Let's not waste any time. And we're thrilled to welcome Chris and Kevin to the pit. Good morning, gentlemen.
How are you guys?
Good morning.
Good. We're good. How's everything going?
Good.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad.
It's not raining in New York today, and it's more than 40 degrees, so that's good.
That's a win. We'll take it. We'll take it.
You got to take what you can get, man.
Hey, we're right before we went on the air. We're talking about Chris's passion the Yankees and playing in that Little League park. I know they're going on now. And is Chris Woodward not your favorite right now?
I mean, he never really annoyed me that much as a player, but he annoys me now that he opens his mouth. I mean, this isn't the first time. He complained about Tatis with the Grand Slam and this and that, and like a Little League park. Come on. I mean, literally there were all the metrics that said, I know I hate using the word metrics, but 26 out of 30 parks that would have gone out Glaber's home run. And this is right after Cole Calhoun just kind of porched one and just take the loss, buddy.
Yeah, it's sour grapes. How about you just shut up and win a game?
Yeah, exactly. Spent all that money in the offseason, you still stink.
Yeah, right. Hey, guys, the biggest thing jumping out in baseball right now, you got the two New York teams in first place, the two LA teams in first place. They all look sustainable. I'm a little doubtful on the Angels. I think they're a little over their skis pitching. But what are your thoughts on the two major markets having four teams? I like the smaller markets, Milwaukee, San Diego. I like what they bring, but I think it's better globally for baseball. Do you guys agree with that, to have the New York and LA teams?
Yeah, it is, but it isn't. It is because, like you said, it's great globally, and New York and LA are going to get all the media attention, and they'll be on the game every week and all that other nonsense. But look at the salaries and look at the payrolls, and then we have these other problems. We were just talking about the A's, or you talk about the Pirates or the Reds. There's got to be some kind of balance. It can't, and I realize it just can't all be about money. There's got to be some front office people who are smart enough to get this done without money, like in Tampa. Tampa can't have the only people who are smart in baseball who could do this on a $40 million salary or salary cap or payroll. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, they are so rich in history, and they have so much to offer in terms both of their ballparks, their communities, their fan bases, and their teams can't seem to get out of their own ways or do anything right.
Is it ineptitude in the front office, or is it lack of caring and just worrying about the bottom line on the profit?
I think it's bottom line and ineptitude, but mostly the bottom line.
I'm going to agree. I mean, you can't be a major league GM or president without at least knowing something about the game and the product you're putting on the field. These guys just don't want to spend money. And, Pittsburgh is a prime example. You have this gorgeous stadium.
Beautiful.
So much history, and they just don't care. They don't care what they're putting out as long as the owners are lining their pockets. Cincinnati is 4 and 22 or something like that. They're so that's a nice mix of not caring and ineptitude. They just they traded everybody away aside from Votto. I think Luis Castillo is coming back from the IL today, and I think he's going to pitch. So I mean, he's probably going to be good for another 7 ERA for his first 10 starts, just like last year. But I mean, and I feel bad for those fans, because those fans, especially guys that are a little older that remember them being great, are witnessing something. It's like the bad news freaking bears out there.
Yeah.
You know, that's not good. That's not good for anybody. You know, I mean, like you guys both, and to Kevin's point, you know, the LA teams and the New York teams, that's great globally, but that kind of turns off everybody else in flyover country. You know, they're not happy about that. They already hate these teams. And now they're doing this. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people that are happy Boston is in the toilet, because I know I am.
Yeah, same here.
But you look at a guy like Steve Cohen, who's going to dump, who could just the other day, and he got released officially yesterday, can eat Robinson Cano's $45 million like you and I are dropping $5 on a burger at McDonald's or something. I mean, that's great for the Mets, and it's great for Met fans. I could see why other owners didn't want him around, because he's going to just change the whole landscape. He's going to change the whole dynamic of this, and it's going to be skewed. And it's fine for me. I'm a Met fan. I love it. I love the fact that he ate Cano's contract, because I've been putting up the Wilpons for the last 40 years.
Oh yeah.
And that was just a nightmare in and of itself. So if you can get ownership like that, that's committed and invested and wants to do this, fantastic. I don't think the guys in Cincinnati are all that invested. You know, and if you can't afford the team, sell it. Sell it to somebody who is invested in it. Somebody who's not going to just use that as a tax write-off or hold his hand out waiting for a salary, a luxury tax check.
Yeah, I think like from my point of view, being an A's fan, you have an owner who he doesn't care. And you know, people that I'm friends with out in the Bay Area are telling me, no, he wants to be at Howard Terminal. Well, I'm like, well, then why not? Okay, if you're going to gut the team last off season, don't double your ticket prices. All right, don't take away the amenities for your season ticket holders. To me, he's doing everything to try and get out of town and go to Vegas, because he sees what it did to the Raider franchise. But people that know a lot more than I do that live in the Bay Area are telling me that's not the case. Why not the smarter move? Hey, we're going to do a rebuild like Atlanta did, like Houston did. We're going to be terrible for a few years. We're trying to build toward opening this new ballpark. Be a little more transparent with your fan base, and you might get more than 2,800 people out there on a Friday night.
Yeah, but the problem with that is baseball is not a quick turnaround. If you draft somebody, unless you draft a college-ready player who's going to come here after having played 3 years in college and is 21, 22 years old, you draft an 18-year-old kid out of high school, you're not seeing that kid for 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
So to say you're going to rebuild is great, and I love what the Astros did, but you need to spend some money too, and you need to have smart people doing it. You need to have smart people making those picks.
Well, I mean, I think I agree completely. I do think A's ownership, I think he's got one foot out the door. I mean, I don't know how they're going to build something in Howard Terminal without a product to put in it. I mean, kind of, if you look at what the Marlins did, and yeah, it was kind of scummy if you think about it, because, you know, they loaded the team up. They looked great. They had all this young talent coming up, forced, you know, the people of Miami to pay for the stadium in the middle of a residential neighborhood, which is bizarre. Kevin, I know you've been there, and it's like,
yes.
It's weird. It's in the middle of a residential neighborhood. It's that one lane going in on that stupid drawbridge. But, you know, they built this giant new stadium, had, you know, a great team in there for a year or two, and then he just dumped everybody off and basically duped the entire city of Miami into doing that. So it was a little scummy, but it worked. I'm not exactly sure the A's would spend the money to get those, you know, high ticket players in there who are going to put the butts in the seats and who are going to, you know, at least compete. I mean, you know, you trade away everybody aside from what, Montas? I mean, you know, they didn't trade Sean Murphy. Big deal.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a double-edged sword, because if you're willing to spend that money, nobody's going to go there anyway to go play in that dump.
Well, that's the thing.
Do you want to play there, or do you want to play in Minute Maid Park, or do you want to play at Citizens Bank Park or Citi Field, or, you know, down in San Diego or out in San Francisco, whatever they're calling that ballpark these days?
I can't keep up.
Yeah. Would you rather be in one of these places where the ballpark is a destination and you're going to get people who are going to show up just to see the ballpark? Or you're going to go play in this crap hole where the toilets are backing up in the dugouts and, you know, you can't get enough people to fill a bus to come watch a game. And it's just, it's a bad scene. And there are so many other cities in the country who you think might want a team. Listen, I know for a dead-on fact that Montreal is begging for a team. And having covered the Expos for a bunch of years and been up there, listen, Montreal is a rock star city, and they would love to have a baseball team back up there.
Yeah. Well, they need a stadium too.
Olympic they need a stadium too, but I think that they're more inclined to work with something if they got something. It doesn't seem like the people in Oakland are inclined to do anything. They're not getting any help from the government.
No, there's a lot of politics going on out there, including from areas not in Oakland too. It's a giant mess. I don't know what's going to happen with them, but let's talk about the good stuff in baseball. Chris, I followed you on Twitter. The Yankees have seemed to learn the concept maybe of situational hitting and whatnot. With the dead ball this year, the dead ball home runs aren't going out. You got to actually play baseball the old-fashioned way, move runners over, go the other way. What's going on with the Yankees?
I don't know, and I don't want to jinx it by pretending I do. They're just doing what they need to do to win, and that's kind of a surprise. I think with the Yankees, they definitely cut some dead weight in Gary Sanchez, and you can use the term weight as you will, but they shored up the defense a little bit. Connor Falefa is not, he's not Phil Rizzuto out there, but he's doing what he needs to do. He's making the plays he needs to play. Glaber doesn't need to play shortstop anymore. You have two catchers that are pretty much defense first. I mean, at this point they can't hit their way out of paper bags, but the pitching staff looks better as a result. They've shored themselves up the middle. I still think that they could have gone for a legitimate center fielder. I don't think Aaron Hicks is the guy. I think I think I read a stat yesterday where he's hitting like 371 with nobody on base, with runners in scoring position. He's like at like 077, and that was before he just stunk it up yesterday. So, I think that's a missing piece. But as far as the hitting is concerned, I think they are starting to realize that all or nothing approach isn't going to win you games, especially in October. But LeMahieu looks good again. I mean, he was playing all year with a sports hernia last year, and I got to give the guy credit because he didn't go on the disabled injured list, whatever the hell it's called. And he's back, and that helps a lot. And Judge, in a contract year, if that's why I got him on my fantasy team. But they're just starting to look a little more cohesive as a unit, and they're not going for just the home run or nothing. I mean, you're going to have those guys. You got your Gallo, who's exactly who he's always been. If he makes contact, good, it goes out. If he doesn't, it's a strikeout. So, but you don't have everyone in that lineup like a Sanchez or like a Luke Voit, where like everyone is doing the same thing. So there's a little more versatility in the lineup. Pitching is looking good. I almost don't hate Aaron Boone anymore because, and I'm wondering if they're giving him a little bit of wiggle room to actually manage this year. Because it almost seems like he is. They might. I'm not sure yet.
Listen, you talk about the pitching being good. The pitching's good now. What happens when Garrett Cole spits the bit again in another big game? See, it's easy to beat Texas and Baltimore in April and May. What's he going to do?
Well, that's Boston.
Well, yeah. What's he going to do when the Yankees have a playoff game in October and he gives up 5 runs in 2 innings and throws 97 pitches and is out of there again?
Oh, I'll be just as livid as the next guy. I mean, it's the Cole thing is, I don't know how much of it has to do with changing baseballs around, not letting him use the spider attack, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Somebody sent me a message yesterday that said he's the best pitcher in baseball, out of the top flight guys, because he just can't close things out. I don't think he has that bulldog mentality in him.
Well, you know what? And I'm a Met fan, and I love DeGrom. DeGrom's issues are not when he's on the mound. DeGrom's issues are staying on the mound.
Yeah.
Once he's on the mound, he's fine. Having gotten the chance to watch Max Scherzer every 5th day,
yeah.
You want to talk bulldog?
Yeah,
that's who I want.
You know what? Garrett Cole ain't Max Scherzer. Let me tell you.
Oh,
not even close.
You put the two of those guys next to each other, and you just kind of like just watch their routine before and during the game. Body language, look at Max Scherzer. Looks like he's going to just bite the head off a bat like Ozzy Osbourne.
Well, you know what? That's it. I don't mind Max Scherzer getting $43 million a year, especially since
he's worth it.
He's worth it, especially if DeGrom opts out after this year.
Yeah, but I look at Cole's contract and I'm like, damn, he ain't worth that at all.
I know.
Cole appears to be just a bit soft. He had a rough outing a couple weeks ago because the game was started 4 minutes later. Yep. Even if you believe that, don't say it to the reporters. But yeah, Kevin, as a Met fan, is it kind of a new uncharted territory for the Mets, given that all these guys you brought in are actually performing?
You know what?
That Met curse hasn't hit yet.
It hasn't. There are some aspects of it that have. I mean, listen, they still don't have a catcher. They have 2 backup catchers, and that's going to hurt them at some point. A lot of their bullpen isn't great. You know, Trevor May finally went on the IL because he finally admitted there was something wrong with him. He's been horrible, and he's cost them. Him alone cost him a couple of games this year. You know, I'm not entirely sold on Taijuan Walker. I think you need to pay more attention to what Taijuan Walker did in the second half of last year as opposed to what he did in the first half. I think that's more representative of what you're going to get out of him than somebody who's 10-1 pitching to a 2 and change ERA. So I think that there's some things there that are fantastic. I like Mark Hanna a lot. He's brought a lot. I did not expect him to have this much success. I didn't consider him an everyday player when they got him. I thought he was a 3 or 4 day a week guy, and he's proven me wrong. Brandon Nimmo finally seems to have figured things out a little bit. I'm glad they got rid of Cano because now they could give at bats to other people. I'm a little disappointed so far in Escobar. He hasn't played well really at all. He's hitting just above the Mendoza line. He's got 1 home run and 6 or 7 RBIs, and we're 5 weeks in here. So that's a little bit disturbing. But overall, I love Buck. Buck is actually they're playing ball, they're playing baseball. And they're hitting and running and stealing and running with abandon. And, he's got some passion, and he seems to have gotten the most out of what he has. And granted, they have a lot right now, but he's gotten the most out of what he has.
2 of my most favorite athletics the last few years were Canna and Chris Bassett. I think Bassett's really helped the Mets kind of offset DeGrom. He's not replacing DeGrom, but he's certainly given him some quality innings.
Yeah, he's a lot like Scherzer. He's got a lot of bulldog in him, I've seen. He doesn't give in. He doesn't get, like you had said earlier about Cole being soft or bitch and moan about something. He doesn't give in. He's really tough out there. He'll fight you.
Since a Yankee fan and Met fan here, Judge and DeGrom with their current teams next year?
Kevin, you go first.
I think DeGrom will be. I think truly deep down he wants to be a Met for his whole career. And I think especially if he doesn't pitch this year, he'd be foolish to opt out. Somebody will give him some money. Somebody will do something stupid. But I think that from a legacy standpoint and from a chance to win standpoint, especially now, I think he stays. I can't see him leaving, especially if he comes back in June or July. It has a typical half season for him and they go deep into the playoffs. I think he'll see what he has. Where's he going to go? I mean, how much money are the Dodgers going to spend?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So,
let's see. As far as Judge, I don't know. I mean, I think they should have locked him up already because now, I mean, if he does have a monster year, he's going to want even more money than what he asked for. I kind of think the Cole contract may come back to bite the Yankees in the ass with this one. And if they don't want to pony up,
contract will bite them more.
They're going to want. I mean, Stanton is a relative bargain, I think, compared to him. Because the Yankees, I think, are only on the hook for 20-something million for him. They're paying Josh Donaldson $25 million next year or something like that. So that doesn't help. But I think Judge would be stupid not to test the market at this point. Even if he does come back, if the Yankees blow away whatever offer he gets, but it would not surprise me in the least to see him in the Bay Area and not with your A's next year, because I do think number 99 would look good on the back of a Giants jersey. And considering the guy is an actual Giant and he's from the area, I think that, I think he would play well in that park, whatever the hell it's called now, like Kevin said. And I think, he's an attraction, and I think he would be a great fit on that team. So
but he's another
I hope
one.
as a Yankee fan, I hope that's not the case. As a baseball fan, though, I think that would be his most likely destination if he were.
He's another one who has to, I would think, has to go to a winner. He's not going to go to Denver or Kansas City or
no.
He's going to wind up in a big market. He's going to wind up with a team that's going to spend the money. He's not, if somebody's going to go all in on Judge and say he's going to do what a typical union guy is going to do and take the biggest contract, and for if Kansas City or Texas or somebody gives you the biggest contract, are you going to take it just for the money?
I don't think he's that. I don't think he's that type of guy. I really don't. I really do. And he's a Northern California guy. I think, he's married now. He probably wants to go home. And the Giants aren't that far off from winning. So, they have the pieces.
But bear this in mind too. That's also a much tougher park to hit in than Yankee Stadium.
It is. But it's. Where's he going to go? Where's he going to go? Like you said, he's going to go to like a small park. He's going to go to Cincinnati because it's a bandbox.
No, but his power to right center isn't going to play as well as it does in Yankee Stadium there.
No, a lot of those home runs would turn into doubles. Because there is that bigger outfield out there, and he can hit into the gap. He also hits, a lot of those home runs that he hits in Yankee Stadium to right center. Like I said, hopefully they would fall in. I'm speculating. I have no idea what the hell's going to happen. For all I know, he could go to Philly and just hit 70 home runs there. So,
or he could go to Philly and do what everybody else is doing and be on an 11 and 15 team.
There you go.
Well, that's a good point.
Had some stats.
They can't pitch or field or hit mostly.
Is there a team out there?
Even worse now because Eflin and Wheeler went on the COVID IL yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, did they really?
Yeah. Well, they're in a bad way. Surprisingly, at this point, the Mets are the only team in that division over 500.
Yes,
which is I didn't. A lot of other people didn't see that coming either. I thought the Braves were going to be pretty good, and they still are going to be pretty good. I just thought at this point they'd be where the Mets are, and the Mets would be where the Braves are.
Yeah,
and
Nationals are a disappointment.
The Nationals are a disappointment, but you know what? The Marlins are good too. Don't sleep on the Marlins, man. Their pitching is.
I never do.
Their pitching is outstanding. Mattingly is a very good figure in that dugout. They really love him, and they've got some decent talent. Don't sell them short.
Is there another team out there? I look at the White Sox, slow starting. That it's only been a month. Atlanta's another one. They didn't get going until August last year, and they won the World Series. Anybody else out there you think it just needs a little more time to figure it out? And Chris, if you want to go ahead and throw dirt on the Red Sox, I'm attending that party. So go ahead.
All right. So we'll let Kevin go with this one, and then I'll start thinking about the Red Sox eulogy already.
You know what? I'm not ready to bury the Red Sox just yet. They have they still have too much talent. So, and they have an owner who's clearly willing to spend some money. And if they're anywhere reasonably close at the deadline, they'll make a move and try and get somebody to give them a better second half or a better shot at in the second half. I still think San Diego is going to be a lot of fun and cause a lot of problems for people.
Yeah.
They're not somebody or a team that's going to go away anytime soon. Tampa's not going to go away, clearly. You can say what you want about Tampa, but they're always going to be a tough out. And they have those smart baseball people that we were talking about before. Yeah. It's disappointing that the Reds, it's May 9th, May 10th, and the Reds are done. Pirates are done. Cubs are done. It's this haves and haves not stuff with baseball. great that I'm a fan of a team that's a have right now, because for a long time I was a team of a have not. But it really takes half of the league or half of the teams away. I mean, you go into this and you're thinking these guys aren't going to do anything, and you say turn it around or what? God, some of these teams are going to need major reconstructive surgery just to turn it around, and that's not going to happen in 3 months.
Yeah, look, I'm an Oakland fan. They were 10-9, and to me, that was like winning the World Series. And next thing you know, we're at a 9-game losing streak and can't score runs, and it's about what I expected. They're not the only team around, but they have players playing that aren't major league ready yet, and that's the overall, like we were saying earlier. That's just not good for the health of baseball. It is tough. I'm in my 33rd year of my fantasy baseball league. If I didn't have that, I don't know where I'd be for a baseball fan, because it's tough. It's tough when your team has no shot. That's one thing about the NFL. You can turn it around pretty quickly. It's been proven with the competitive balance they have. Well,
Oakland is an unusual place. And you and I were talking about this before. They've been in an unusual place for a long time. Whether it's Charlie Finley or, Sandy Alderson steroid guys in the 80s, or, Billy Bean and his Moneyball nonsense. It's always been interesting.
Yeah.
You're never crying for a story out there. There's always something to write about.
Never. Moment.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry, Sean.
What's that? No, go ahead. Boston. Let's talk about
Boston.
I
mean, Oakland is, like we said, it's pretty crazy how, again, all the stars get moved. Now the face of the franchise is Christian Pache.
Yes.
Who's going to be a solid player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's going to be a really good player. But, it's kind of strange that he went from, part-time, kind of call up, go set, use his options, send him up and, send him down, bring him up in Atlanta. And now he's the face of the franchise out there.
It's tough. Kevin brought up the Red Sox. They can hit. I'm not so sure they can pitch. Chris, that's a big smile on your face. Rich Hill's going on I don't know if he's on the COVID list or he's on one of those lists now. I think if you're trotting out Rich Hill and Michael Wacha, I think you're asking for trouble. I don't know if
Listen, I watched Rich Hill and Michael Wacha in New York the last 2 years. You're not getting anything with that. You're not going anywhere with those two.
Yeah.
Good old.
I'm not sure what Heim Bloom did all winter, but he didn't improve his team very much.
No, I think their roster is pretty thin. And I don't want to, really throw too much dirt on them, because you never know what's going to happen with the Red Sox. For all I know, they could lose 100 games and then they'll win the World Series next year, because that kind of seems to be, their MO. But, I think, baseball's better when the Red Sox and the Yankees are both good at the same time. It's kind of like the NFL, and the NFC East is usually better when the Giants and Cowboys are good at the same time. It's just better for the sports, better for the fans. The thing is with Boston right now, you have Sale, who I don't know. Apparently, he just had another weird setback, but not related to his broken rib that I guess he threw pitching, because the guy needs to eat a double cheeseburger. I just don't know if they have the roster construction. And like you said, I'm not exactly sure what Bloom did. He went in and brought Trevor Story, who so far has been a complete dud. But again, I don't see them sitting in the basement of the AL East for the entire year. Cora is too good of a manager. They do have too much talent. Eventually, these guys are going to heat up. Again, I don't think they have the pitching, like you said. Rich Hill, Wacha, Sale, who nobody knows if he's going to, ever pitch this year. They moved Garrett Whitlock to, he's a starter now. I believe he's starting today. So right now, I think Evaldi and Whitlock are your 1 and 2 starters, and that's not exactly not exactly Koufax and Drysdale over here. So it's a long season. It's May 9th. So who knows? But they could come back. They could do something good. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy it and laugh, because why the hell not?
Why not? Hey, real quick, guys, if you have one player in baseball you could start a franchise with. I had a debate on my other podcast last week on who was the best player in the game. If you had one guy to start your team with, who are you picking?
I'm going with Ronald Acuna Jr. Just does it all. So I'm just going to go with him. Very
Oh.
simple. If he's healthy, obviously.
I can't pick Rich Hill, right?
You
You
can.
can pick whoever. Sure.
No, I would still either go with Trout or Juan Soto.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
I mean, Trout is, you know what? I only got to see Willie Mays play when he was in his 40s. And being on the East Coast, we don't get to see Trout nearly as much as I would like. Again, he's not even on TV that much back here, and I'm not spending $1 billion for some MLB TV package. It's just, I think he's the closest thing to Willie Mays we've seen in a long time. He can hit, he could run, he could field. He hits for average, he hits for power. He's a great center fielder. There's not much you can say about him, and I think Soto's going to be a guy who's going to just be dominant. I mean, to a point where I hope the Nationals just pull an Oakland and just cash it in so the Mets can get Soto.
Yeah, the Angels are one. I hate the Angels. I always have, being an A's fan, but the A's aren't going to win the division. I'd rather the Angels win it for two reasons. One, I don't want the Houston garbage cans to make the playoffs. I can't stomach that. But two, I'd like to see Mike Trout in the playoffs with Ohtani, and more than just a one-game play-in. See how he would do on the big stage. He's never been there, and that's not his fault. That's on the Angels brass all these years. They've wasted a generational talent and got nothing on playoffs from him. I think it'd be a lot of fun to see those two guys in a 5 or 7 game series and see what they can do.
I think that would be fantastic. I would love to see them in the playoffs, but what you said, management has not done them any favors.
No.
Yeah.
And you can have a guy, hey, look, Ernie Banks played how many years without going to the World Series?
Yeah.
It's disappointing, but some guys just don't have the right luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Artie Moreno loves giving out money, to guys like Anthony Rendon.
Yes.
I'm surprised he went after Syndergaard this year, but I mean, who the hell knows how long he's going to be healthy. The rest of that pitching staff is a little iffy. I'm out here on the West Coast, so I see the Angels quite a bit. And I do get to see Trout all the time, and it's fun. So, I mean, Trout's his issue is going to be health and longevity. But I mean, I always thought he seems like a Mickey Mantle type. And if he, wanted to play in a big market, and if, the Yankees went after him, he would be the biggest thing since Mantle, probably, because he does play that same type of game. Even kind of looks like him. So, it would be nice to see them get in the playoffs because, like you said, I mean, I don't want to see Houston in there again.
No.
And they're having their own set of problems. So I don't know how long that'll last because, I mean, I also think Dusty Baker will whip those guys into shape. But I'll tell you, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see Trout and Ohtani. They look a little different body language wise, after, during games because they're on a winning team, which I don't think anyone really expected. But I will tell you, the Angels fans out here are actually pretty pumped up. So it's kind of fun to see.
Another guy I would pick would be Vlad Guerrero.
Yeah.
That guy,
that's not a bad pick, yeah.
Yeah, he is just amazing. He plays a pretty solid first base. I mean, I get to see him a lot because he's in the Yankees division. Yeah. And that kid can hit.
What about the Toronto team? A lot of people picked them to go to the World Series, and now they're 17-13 and struggling. They seem to me like just a young group. They'll figure it out. Bichette's starting to get it going a little bit. Any concerns with Toronto making a run in that division?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But only because they showed this winter that they're willing to make a move.
Yeah. And
if they're anywhere near where they're sniffing a playoff spot in July, they'll make a move. They'll do something with it. And plus, they have such a great young core. That's a very rabid fan base. Yeah, they've been without baseball. Well, they were without baseball up there for 2 years, and they had to sit and watch them play in Buffalo and Dunedin and all this other nonsense. I think ownership in some way feels beholden to giving something back to the fans. They've been so good to the team, the fans have been, that I think that the ownership is going to do what it can to make that a better experience and a better team.
Yeah, I hope so. It's a good baseball city.
It is. It is. Toronto's a great city in general. I always enjoy going up there. Like when I used to go up there, but it's weird because I mean they do have like Kevin said. I mean they have a great young core. I mean I think they have one of the better pitching coaches in the game as well. So I think he'll get those guys on the right track. What's Pete Walker, and I don't know. I just think there's too much young talent. They might just not have gotten there yet, So I mean, a little more time. Again, I mean, it's not like they're under 500. They're a couple games over. Division is a little tough, but I think they'll get into the playoffs just because of I mean, if you look at the AL Central, who the hell's getting in there aside from whoever wins the division? So. I think that, and now with everyone in the league, almost getting into the playoffs, I think they'll get in, and who knows if they make some noise, but they're getting closer. They're getting closer.
All right, hey guys, how can people follow you? Twitter, and talk about BallNine.com just a little bit.
Well, that's all you, Chris.
Oh, okay. Well, Twitter is BallNine tweet. Spell out 9, obviously, but and so we're on there, just BallNine.com. Again, 9 is spelled out. If you go to just number 9, it's some website in China trying to sell me their name. It's true. But yeah, we're on there. Facebook, it's BallNine FB. Instagram, it's BallNine IG. So you can find us anywhere. We've had some good stuff coming out this week. Just yesterday we had Kevin Kernan speaking with the guy Gary Green, who owns the Richmond Flying Squirrels, the Omaha Storm Chasers, the Montgomery Biscuits, and he just bought Baseball America. Like, all right, nice. It's not a bad gig. Today, John Carolus wrote about same thing that Czerwinski wrote about for MILB. About Ron Nessiai and Harry Dunlop with 27 strikeouts in a 9-inning game. And then tomorrow we have a wonderful piece coming up by Kevin Czerwinski right here about Arthur Miller, not the one you think. But it's a great piece, and that's a good one. I'll let you talk about that for a second.
Yeah,
it was interesting.
It's interesting. We have been doing a little bit more on baseball artists who have made a living just chronicling the game through painting or drawing. And Arthur Miller has an interesting story in that he was very close with Ted Williams before he died. He actually got past John Henry and, was able to get to know the guy and get to know a lot of people through Ted Williams. And his work is really, really spectacular. And he's got an interesting story about how he actually paints, because he did something that I had never heard of. He kind of almost invented a new way to paint.
Yeah, I had never heard that before.
Yeah, and so he's got some interesting stuff. We've written about Todd Radham, who you don't know his name, but he's everywhere in baseball. He's on almost every uniform, and he's in almost every ballpark, doing logos and insignias. He's phenomenal. Patches, all that
logos,
stuff.
And yeah, it's pretty cool.
All these guys, Brad Davis and Josie up in Montreal. All these people who, when you stop and think about what baseball means to different people, and you look at how all these artists approach baseball differently, there's a different idea from every one of them. It's not just, all right, here's a picture on a baseball card. There's so many different interpretations. Like a guy like Brad Davis. I mean, you have Brad Davis's work. You bought some of his stuff, Chris.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Reggie one right now.
Yeah, it's
right back there.
Yeah, it's different. It's interesting. And we have a couple more coming up in the next few weeks. We have, Art Miller tomorrow. I have this other one, the Sharpie artist.
Oh yeah. I'm excited about that one.
Which we just.
But you know what I like though? It's like I like that you interject. Just here's Al Raboski in the middle of it, and here's his insane character of the Mad Hungarian. So I mean, it's, we try and keep a balance of it. It's like we if there's a baseball story out there, we're going to find it. No matter
it's different stuff, and one of the things that I like about Chris, he gives me the freedom to write what I want, but
Yeah,
it's always good.
This also allows you to talk about baseball and tell more stories. So I can go dig up stuff on a guy who, had 3 hits and 3 at bats in 1964, and then went over to Vietnam and got his head blown off. And nobody else is writing about him, but it's a phenomenal story. And it's this kind of stuff is great. I mean, this is what you get in baseball that you don't get in other sports.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You don't have these kind of stories in the NFL or the NBA or the NHL. Well, maybe they have it in the NHL up in Canada, but they don't have it here. And I think part of that is because baseball lends to that. Baseball history lends to that. Statistics are important in baseball.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure Kareem's still the all-time leading scorer in the NBA, right?
I have no idea.
I think so.
Okay, so Kareem, I guess he's still the all-time leading scorer, and I think either Brady or Drew Brees is the all-time passing leader in the NFL. I don't know.
Brady, unfortunately.
So it's kind of like that. I mean, you look at it, and you're like, okay. Or who has the most touchdowns? I think it's Emmitt Smith now, or most yardage or something. It's not. There are no magic numbers. It's not 714 or 715 or 61.
Yeah.
You're not. You don't look at it that way, and there are very few times you can look at another sport and get that. I mean, you look at Bill Russell and see the number of championships he's won, and that's something that you can look at. But overall, I don't think it's anything near it. And that's what these artists are able to bring out, and that's what Chris allows me to bring out. And it's baseball from a very unique perspective.
Yeah, you bring up the numbers real quick. Just to interject that you talk about if somebody gets busted for steroids in baseball, they're a pariah almost. It doesn't go away. If somebody gets a 4-game suspension in the NFL, they end up on network TV in the studio, and it's no big deal. And I think it's because baseball is so beholden to their numbers, and that's what separates baseball from the other sports is those career numbers, that they get skewed with that steroid area. And I think that's why that's the passion when baseball has a violator, somebody fails a test, because again, the NFL, I can't answer. I'm a huge NFL fan. I can't answer any of those questions for you on who holds those records in the NFL. And I think that, again, that's why there's almost a double standard with steroids in baseball.
But you know what the problem is with baseball too? The one problem I do see, and we talk about this all the time because these nerds, they're almost ruining some of the numbers with some of these stupid statistics they come out.
I agree.
Batting average on balls in play. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm hitting 350 while I'm batting average on balls in play, but I struck out 150 times too, so I'm really only hitting 250. So, that kind of nonsense. I don't care what you're doing when you hit the ball.
Yeah.
You're only hitting the ball half the time you're at the plate.
I love the 115-mile-an-hour line drive out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an out.
Yeah, the two terms that I detest are exit velocity and launch angle. I don't care. Is it a double? Was it a hit? Was it a fly out to the warning track? Doesn't matter.
No, and you know what? That hopefully will change at some point.
It'll swing back. It'll swing back enough to regular.
It's already swinging back. They've gone back to these older managers. They've gone back to playing a little bit more regular baseball. I'd still like to see guys bunting against the shift.
Yeah.
Well,
you know what? I don't have a problem with the shift. I have a problem with the fact that the hitter isn't adapting to the shift.
Correct.
If they want to put 8 guys out in right field when Jeff McNeil's up, go ahead. But damn, you better be butting down the third base line. Use your head. You don't need to hit a home run. You need to get on base. You need to do what's best for the team, not what's best for you.
I agree with that point 100%. I mean, you want to move off the shift, go the other way. Instead, they've kind of thrown their arms up and say, well, I can't hit it anywhere in the field, so it's either a home run or a strikeout. Yeah. And that's what the game devolved into.
Yeah. And you know what?
If
you bunt it enough against the shift, eventually they stop doing it.
Yep.
The game polices itself. That's really
and that's one of the things too. The Mets released Cano. He got a hit first week in the season against Washington. He bunted down the third base line. And because there was nobody playing over there. And even Cano, who refuses to run, actually got on base that way. So
he's been that way for a while.
Yeah. So if you do enough of that, how is that going to not stop them from shifting? At the very least, they'll have to put somebody over there, which will open up another one of those holes.
I agree. All right, gentlemen. Hey, I think we've solved the world's problems here for Major League Baseball.
As we tend to do.
As you tend to do over at Ball9. Awesome job. Hey, guys, enjoyed having you today. Hopefully we'll do it again soon, eh?
Sounds good.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Enjoy your days. Enjoy your coffee, Chris.
Oh, thank you.
Bye now.
Take it easy, guys.
All right.
Later, guys.
Awesome from Ball9. Hey, real quick, let's get to my world. When I left you on Friday, the Bruins were down 2-0. My world was collapsing around me, and here we are. We're 2-2. We got game 5 tomorrow night in Carolina. Gonna be a tough go. But you know what? Boston's got some momentum. They got Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak going again. They put the perfection line back together and immediately clicked. The power play's getting some goals now. If they're going to keep the big three together, I hope DeBrusque going down to the second line can keep Taylor Hall involved. He can make plays, but he needs somebody on that line to set him up. So let's hope it's Jake DeBrusque. Big question mark is back on D. Charlie McAvoy is out in COVID protocols. I did hear before we came on the air that Hampus Lindholm was skating today. Hopefully he can get back from that hit he took in Carolina in game 2. But I'll tell you, the unsung hero for the Bruins, you talk about Cam Hasbrook was on the show last week talking about unsung heroes help you win in playoffs. Derek Forbort, 9 block shots in game 3 the other night to really help the Bruins win that game and get back in the series. And that's just one of those effort plays. Blocking shots in hockey is not ideal, folks. It takes some courage and sacrifice your body for the team. And Forbort with 9 blocks the other night was just pure magic and an effort that's not going to be forgotten around TD Garden anytime soon. Also, we introduced last Friday the first ever Whiny Bitch Award of the Week. And we're going to do it again the second time in 4 days, and we have a repeat winner. Rod Brindamore, whining about a call yesterday with a Jake DeBrusque goal. Dude, read your rule book. Stop whining. Brindamore is a tough player in the NHL. And now he's just become a whiny bitch as a coach. So, Rod, focus on trying to win hockey games, okay? That's just the way it goes, all right, bud? You're not going to win the game with the refs, trying to win the game on the ice. And, folks, on that note, we'll do our shameless plug of the week. Dear Liam and Noah, Letters from Daddy, book to I wrote to my kids, October of 2020, found on Amazon. Give it a look if you're so inclined, but on that note, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful week. We'll see you all next week again for Pugsley's Pit. And with that, I bid you adieu. Bye now.